Okay. Ooh.
Oh,
You ready?
I'm ready.
I said go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of On Point, where we dive deeper into Sunday morning's message. If you enjoy this, please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who might be interested. We are available on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy. Welcome back to the On Point Podcast, and once again, I am here with Pastor Joe Ellis. We are currently locked in the house because of this snowstorm.
Yeah.
Spending quality time together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, this is our snowstorm edition.
Right? Throwback to 2020.
Yeah. Whew, that was a rough days.
Yeah, which I wasn't even here, but
No, it was not fun. I can tell you, live streaming over a phone in a living room is not fun.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It is really, it's just something off about it. And, you see your kids sitting there on the couch half asleep and, so nobody paying attention. And
I guess the only benefit from this is you got to be half dressed, right?
yeah, no, I'm fully dressed.
No, I'm just glad I got into church when that era was over.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because Hannah, our daughter-in-law, wasn't even in church at the time COVID went on. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years.
I don't think she's in church still, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing.
But yeah, and then those were very interesting days. I couldn't make anybody happy, and it was, people were mad at me when I didn't enforce masks, and people were mad at me when I did enforce masks, and it was insane. People not come to church, literally on both sides. Had people think it was the worst thing that's ever happened to the world, that the whole world was falling apart. And then I had people who thought it was the biggest joke that ever happened, and and it was all made up. It was so wild, and I'm trying to navigate a church through that was fun. And then the live streaming was awful, but it actually, probably the one blessing that came out of that was the whole live stream era. Our church would have never done live streaming. Our church would have never.
Wait, so y'all didn't do it before?
Oh, no, man. We didn't even have. No, I always said audio is good enough. Nobody wants to see my face, and I still believe that. But during COVID, we were forced to. We got to do something, and so we started doing it. And then as we started doing it, we're like, well, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it right. And so that's when we started really making things, getting good cameras and all those types of things. And actually, there's more cameras on the way, getting to be hooked up soon enough. So we're constantly making it grow and, doing different things
You buying me a new camera?
Huh?
You buying me a new camera?
No.
Oh.
We bought new cameras for the sanctuary.
Oh, okay. Not bad.
They can be rotated and all kinds of things, and so we'll have multiple more cameras. But all of that came out of the COVID thing. And so we started doing it, and here we are today, and now we can be listened to and watched all over the world.
Well, look at that. Something good did come out of that.
Yeah.
Plus, you found me.
Was that good?
No, but
just kidding.
Hold on, drop my pen. Okay. Whoa. Just to hop right into it. This morning, you preached a message called "Don't Give Up the Ship." Shout out to not playing, but my first question for you is, what does the ship represent? What is the ship you're talking about? You're talking about don't give up.
Yeah, the ship, it really in Bible, typology or whatever, the ship is the church. The church is the ship. It's easy to talk about all the flaws in the church, and we can look at the church has not always been perfect, and we don't always do everything perfectly. Matter of fact, I'm in it. So if I'm in it, it's definitely not perfect. And, so anybody, we're imperfect people. So the church itself may not be perfect, but one day Jesus said, I'm going to have a spotless bride.
Right.
And the church will one day be made into what it's supposed to be. It will become. And so throughout history, it's had its mistakes. It's had its flaws, throughout a journey of any local church. There are flaws. There's times of trouble and struggles and things like that. But, you don't give up. You don't give up on the enemy wants you to give up the ship.
Right.
And we don't do that.
Well, why do you feel like people give up the ship after fighting for so long? They fight the battles they go through. Why do you think they give up after a while?
They get worn down. Sometimes, the struggle, you start to wonder, and I think a lot of times it's like, is it worth it? Is this worth it? And I've had times when the enemy has tried to convince me, man, you've, all that fasting and praying and look at the trouble I've put you in. Maybe you're better off just not fasting, not praying. Maybe you're better off, going through it weekly or just going through half-heartedly, and I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
And he likes to tempt us with this thought of, if you just let it alone, I'll leave you alone. Like he's got some kind of power or control that he can do that. But we have to understand that there's a God that controls it all.
Right.
And so I don't get, it's easy. It's easy to give up on the ship, right? It's easy to, and sometimes we think we're better off on a different ship.
I was about to say, I feel like no matter what ship you go on, there's always going to be storms.
There's no perfect church.
Right.
There is no perfect people. You can find flaws wherever, but, we work to fix the flaws. We ask God to help us. And just like my life, I can look at my life and say, yep, I've got flaws. But I'm working to fix those flaws, and I'm working to get better every day, and so I don't give up.
Right. Next question: what happens when we get out of it? And then, I guess it's like a two-part. What happens when we get out of the ship, and then what happens if we try to get back in it? Are we able to get back into that ship?
Yeah. So if you get out of it, I think as you were asking that question, the thought kind of popped into my mind. Jonah.
Yeah.
Jonah ended up out of the ship.
Right. I think he had no choice. But.
Yeah, he ended up out of the ship, and he could have had them turn that ship around. He could have said, "Hey, if we go to back to land or whatever," but he said, "Throw me overboard." In essence, Jonah was saying, "I'm done. I give up." And the beauty of it and the mercy of God is God prepared a great fish,
right,
that swallowed up Jonah and took him to the other side. And so. We could fall very fast, very hard. If we give up the ship, the trouble you're in isn't going to stop. The Bible says it rains on the just and the unjust, right? The storm comes to those that are on the rock and those that aren't on the rock. So the fact is, you're still going to end up with the storms of life.
Right.
It's just a lie that tells you that getting out of church or getting out of the place that God wants you to be is somehow going to make your life better. And actually, it's only going to make it worse. It's only going to be down from there.
Yeah. Which it's kind of crazy how people can really try to rely on other things. I feel like once you experience that presence of Him, you know what I mean? That because I feel like once you go through one storm, once you go on through another one, you have that what's the word? Comfort or peace, knowing that through it all, I'm gonna get out of it because I've done it. He done it for me once. He could do it for me again. And you kind of brought up when the apostles went on the boat. They didn't even make it halfway, and then that storm came. And I thought it was pretty cool how you. I never realized that miracle you talked about. How immediately when he got on, when Jesus got on the boat,
immediately.
And I guess could that be like with our lives? We go through the storms, we go through all that. The moment we ask Jesus to help us, you think He can just
So I think there's a moment that when He gets in the boat, there's a moment that storm comes to an end. And you may think, man, there's just no way out. And I've seen it happen in people's lives, and it looks so awful. And they think there's just no... But those that stay in, all of a sudden, there comes a moment when there's this change that takes place, and you look back like, I'm out of the storm.
Right.
He brought me through. he got me through this. And so I think that is a very good picture of that, when he's in the ship, the best place he can ever be. They accused him the one time, he fell asleep in the ship, right? Yeah. They're going to the other side with and he falls asleep in the back of the ship, and they're all upset that Jesus is asleep in the back of the ship. The best place Jesus could be was in the ship.
Right.
Right? And all they had to do was wake him up. He stands up. I can see he wipes his eyes, looks around. Hey, storm, you're done. Calm down. And,
right.
And really, why was Jesus sleeping? It really is a picture that sometimes he does allow, and this is the part that I think sometimes we struggle to explain, that sometimes God allows the storm in our lives.
Right.
The storm, he controls it. So he controls the length of it. He controls the severity of it. The meteorologists have been trying to forecast a snowstorm. He's the one that controls the storm. I don't control it.
Right.
He does.
Yeah.
And so, how long does it last? Where does it go to? Where does it travel? What's it going? He controls all that. So if I'm going through a storm, a lot of people here, they blame God. God, you've allowed me to go through this storm. You've allowed me to face this. You've allowed me, and they blame God instead of saying, okay, God, what are you wanting to do with me in this storm?
Right.
Because think about, we all like to say, I want a miracle in my life. Do you know to have a miracle in your life, you need a hopeless situation?
Yep. Yep.
So if you're praying for a miracle, you got to have something that needs a miracle to take place.
Right.
And who knows what that could be and how that, we want God to do amazing things, but amazing things come out of very difficult circumstances and trials and struggles. And so, the thought that you brought up and the part you brought up is when I go through one storm and I've seen he brought me through that, I'm going to go through, you read the New Testament. I was just looking at it. I was like, man, they went through a number of storms in the New Testament. Well, you read, well, this storm helps them with the next storm, which helps them with the next storm, which helps them with the next storm.
Right.
Every storm we go through, hey, you know what? God's going to see me through this.
Right.
And I'm going to have faith. And, because in this life, we're going to have those trials. And, I love the immediacy of it. And I love the simpleness of the command Jesus gave to them. They had one task. Get to the other side. Yeah. That's all they had to do. Like, he didn't say go conquer something. He didn't say go, do some kind of what. He just get to the other side. All you have to do.
Right.
And there they are. They're rowing. And they're rowing. And they're rowing. And they find themselves in the middle, not even halfway there. And they're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And here's the thing. Here's what I think God was wanting to prove to them. And I think this is what we have to realize in the storm. Is God was wanting to prove to them, I'm going to ask you to fulfill a task, but I'm not going to ask you to fulfill it alone.
Right.
To get to the other side, that's all the task was. How simple is that, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't accomplish it until Jesus got in the boat with them. And as soon as he's with them, immediately, right? So that is it. So whatever he's asking me to do, whatever he's calling me to do, what I need to know is he in the boat with me?
Right.
Is he? If he's there with me, then I'm going to be okay.
When you say that, it kind of brought up an old conversation you said in the last episode where we want to make sure we're doing what God is telling us to do, because if not, it's going to go off the rails. It's not going to go the way we think it's going to go, because it's not in his will and it's not in the way he wants us to go.
It's the same, really the same concept, but this time using a ship as an analogy. Get in the boat. We want Jesus in the boat with us. If he's in the ship, I'm going to be. If I try to take this storm on my own, I'm in big trouble.
Right.
But if I've got him with me, I'm going to be okay.
And just don't take your eyes off him. You know what happened when you stepped out that boat.
Yeah.
Right. Well, is there anything you want to leave to the to our viewers, to our audience? Anything you want to advice you want to give them?
Yeah, a couple things I want to say. If you're watching this, maybe not pick this one, but pick another one and maybe send it to somebody. Share the link. Subscribe to it. All of those things. That actually helps us to reach more people. So if you can do that, that'd be great. But also just wanted to say, you know what? Don't give up. There was a quote. It was a speech actually given by. He was the Prime Minister of Winston Churchill. It was a speech he gave, and it's gone down in history as like a famous speech. And he literally said 7 words: never, 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 never give up. I guess that's 9 words. That was his whole speech. And to think about that really in this message is never, 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 never give up. And if we can do that, if we can say, you know what, I'm going to fight no matter what. I'm going to stay true no matter what. God's going to be with us.
Amen. That's on point. Thank you for listening to the entire episode. If you found this enjoyable, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread the message. We post to Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube every week. You can catch the entire sermon on all those feeds. We would also love to see you in person at North Point Apostolic Church at 3544 Vernon Road, Stowe, Ohio, every Sunday at 10 a.m.